I used to tie-dye gray sweatsuits with dark, light contrast pattern. I'd save up to try to get 1 new or 2 new items.
Continuing with the introduction of Eddie Claypool to the Camo Matrix channel, we were talking about the evolution of hunting garments in the hunting industry, and we also talked about mechanical broadheads. So part of this video was lost, but we did capture all of the audio, and it's just something that happens in the backcountry sometimes. We actually ran out of battery power. But what I'll do is when we actually lose video, you'll hear the audio of Eddie talking, so you can still get the content that Eddie shared with us. And let me know what you think about some of these things. We're just kind of going off the cuff and no real script to go by, and we're just discussing these things that have to do with the hunting industry. So here we go is Eddie Claypool. He is a DIY legendary bow hunter. Okay, so kind of continuing with our introduction to these types of DIY questions, there's something else, and this is more along the Camo Matrix side. It's a comment that I get a lot.
Okay.
And it's about the gear of today. And the reason why I'm saying this is because you actually said something back a month and a half ago. And I was talking about natural fabrics, and you were talking about the new fabrics that are out here. So you've seen this evolution of hunting garments.
Mm-hmm.
How has it changed how you can be out here hunting?
When I started in the late 70s, I never even heard of anything but cotton and wool. And then it seems to me, I'm wanting to say around the early 80s, maybe mid 80s, we started having synthetics introduced. One of the big ones back then, a name that we lived by, Patagonia, and polypropylene. And there was nothing in the hunting industry then. The hunting industry was so primitive that they didn't even make hunting clothing. I don't know even when hunting clothing started showing up. I had to go to Army surpluses back in them days and buy Vietnam cotton camo to go hunt in. So anyway, around the mid 80s, some things started changing. Hunting industry started blooming. And a lot of backpacking companies, mountaineering companies, were already started down that road. Well, the hunting industry picked up on some of that, some of the synthetics, and man, it started exploding. You went from polypropylene to, you heard of holofill, and then became, some things like Gore-Tex, and all this stuff started evolving. And I think probably by the 90s, everything had changed, and there was a lot of starting to be modern hunting clothing, where you could go to stores and buy it in the hunting department. And of course now there's stuff out there that I ain't even heard of, and it's so high tech that it's ridiculous. And I watched a lot of that stuff develop and waited on it. I knew it would come, had ideas about it myself. A lot of the actual even archery gear, I kind of almost invented the stuff by myself, and then I would see it come on the market 10 or 15 years later. Somebody would invent it.
Yeah.
But anyway, with the hunting clothing, I used to tie-dye gray sweatsuits with dark, light contrast pattern, because I knew that's the main secret to camouflage. A light, dark pattern that at a distance it don't blend together.
Right, doesn't turn into the blob.
Right. And so I was making homemade camo. I called it Skyline. I would put big streaks of black across it and things, and it would be a slate gray sweatsuit. And I used to use that in Illinois whitetail hunting. I'd put it on over my insulated gear, because I'd be up in a tree. Like, I had one spot in Illinois that you had to hunt this tree, and it's the only tree up on top of this ridge you were skylined. Well, I made my own camo and hunted it and killed a couple of big bucks out of it. All that stuff I bought at Walmart and made. That would be the 80s. 90s come, I start being able to buy it. Well, it was expensive and I didn't have much money, but I saved my nickels and dimes. Every 12-month period, I'd save up to try to get 1 new or 2 new items. Gore-Tex, man, when it finally, I was like, I got to have a Gore-Tex rain jacket, because I set out in the weather. Then it would be the I'm trying to think. I think it was called Holofill come out, and they started insulating camo with Holofill.
Yeah.
Well, for cold weather hunting, I was dying. Up until that point, I would literally wear Walmart walls, insulated coveralls, and pull that homemade camo over it just to try to have a cold weather whitetail set up. Well, when that insulated, I've got a set of it. I still have it. I archived it of this stuff. I got it back when Cabela's was starting, and they made this really thick insulated bottom and top. And I saved all year and got a set of it. And I lived in that stuff for about 5 years. And I killed a truckload of big bucks out of it because it allowed me to stay out there in the really, really, really cold. And that's when things were really changing. And then, after all the synthetics showed up, then nowadays they've got stuff that I can't even read the marketing on it and understand it. The marketing is complex. Like Sitka, KUIU. I don't even know what some of the stuff's made out of nowadays, and exactly how I don't know how they keep elevating the marketing.
Yeah, they're engineering it to where it'll help regulate the heat of your body so that you don't sweat when it's cold,
Right.
which will help keep you out there longer. Some of them actually have, I don't even know what's embedded in the fabric to help find you if you get lost.
Yeah, scent controlling things embedded in.
Yeah.
I remember when that's hit. Big term back in the day was perspiration wicking. Get away from your body.
Yeah, that's a big deal now.
Yeah, but anyway, that stuff was amazing when it was coming out in the 90s and up into 2000. And then how they continue since then to elevate is above me. I'm a kind of a simpleton. I look at it as not all that scientific and technological information I need about my camo. I just need to know, number one, is it an effective pattern that breaks me up, that makes me harder to see? And then number two, is it, like for cold weather, does it keep me warm?
Yeah.
And quiet. Quiet, that's a big one. Bow hunters got to be quiet. I saw stuff come out that kept me warm, but I couldn't get my bow drawn on a whitetail in late December in calm conditions.
Made too much noise.
Absolutely. And I've been through the mill of trying stuff and learning what worked and don't. And I don't put it out there because some of it goes against mainstream popularity.
So that could actually be something that I haven't seen is sound. Like if you're going to go and check out a certain brand and you go put it on, can you try it on and pull your bow without making any noise?
Maybe 10% of the whitetails, the big ones I've killed, have been killed in late season. And I commonly found and learned the hard way that if I couldn't be deadly quiet when I drew my bow, that it's over. On pin drop days, I call them.
Oh, yeah.
Dead calm, where you think you could hear a pin hit the ground out of your tree, and you got a 160 whitetail standing broadside at 20 yards, and you got to get this bow drawn. You're confident that he ain't going to see your movement because you watch him and you make sure his head's turned. But the problem is getting the bow drawn. There's a lot of parts to that, not only the clothing, but the gear itself, the archery parts. And to get all that to work together is such a quandary that, I've been playing with that stuff and fighting and tweaking for 40 years, and it's fun. It's a challenge. Now that I'm older, I'm kind of past that now. I just go out and do what I do, and it works or it don't.
Yeah.
It's funny because you always hear old people get to where they say, you'll get to where you don't care what people think about you.
Yeah.
It's true. And you get to where you don't care really about the passion turning out exactly successful anymore. Like 40 years of passion, I had to be the best at what I did, and I wanted to make it be trophy animals harvested with a bow. And now I'm okay to go out there and be a little bit of a slouch and run them off a little and not get them a lot, but I'm having a heck of a time. So it's a good trade-off. But to get back to the original question, I've watched the evolution of the hunting world from its infancy stages to what we're dealing with today.
Yeah. But it's improved on how your comfort level is out when you're hunting.
It does. And here recently, I don't know how many years ago, I'd say in my mind it's been 12, 15, there was a new level come out, the Sitka KU. Well, Sitka KU was later, offshoot. But when they hit the market, I was interested in their stuff because I thought they were doing something different. And they did. And we had a relationship for a long time. It was pretty close, and they questioned me about things. But one thing, and I don't want to get off in outer space here with this, but one thing I've learned about the hunting industry is they don't always like to hear what you got to say unless you say what they want to hear.
Yeah, that's any industry that makes money is going to have that.
And if you don't, God forgive me, but it's all about marketing and who's willing to market the way. And I'm not somebody that's willing to just go with the flow. I say the way it is, and whether it's true or not, it's true for me.
It does say something about, we're talking about advertising, we're talking about businesses, because I can pull. And I put this out there for the Camo Matrix people to take a look at, and there was a comment that somebody made, and they said that of the top 5 camo patterns that are reviewed on my Camo Matrix tool, that we're talking about Sitka, we're talking about KUIU, and that's really those are the top ones. We're subalpine,
right? All their different
Valo
patterns.
from KUIU,
yeah.
But actually, RealTree Edge is in one of the top 5, and then of course you have First Light. But we're talking about, these are the key ones that are out there. So those are the top ones. And then Kings is starting to get down in the bottom,
right.
Top 10 still. But there's they advertise, they get it out there.
I watched those people come into business. I mean, I watched RealTree. I don't know if they were already in business in the 70s. I don't think so. But I watched them hit the market. I mean, there was one that come out that was one of the first synthetics I ever heard of. Was made. It's called Bob Fratsky, Winona Camo.
Yeah, you've mentioned it before.
Okay, I wore that stuff because it had it, and that was back probably 80s. Now you know what pattern mimics it? KUIU.
Yeah, and it's simple.
It's simple.
And it was chosen. I put this was a previous year. I put it out for my viewers to pick which one they wanted me to wear for pronghorn hunting. KUIU Valo was one of them, and it's that same. It's that all their patterns are very similar in shape.
Yeah.
It's just the coloring that they change. But I think it's effective. It's that dark light that you were trying to achieve with your sweatsuit.
Yeah. Well, like when RealTree showed up and become zooming to the top, the Bill Jordan, anything Bill Jordan. Well, anyway, they had that, it was called Advantage pattern. And it was about as good as it got for whitetail. And everybody had it. And then, of course, due to marketing, we can't just keep making the best thing ever. We got to change everything. Well, it's gone, and you can't find it now. And you couldn't wear anything any more effective in the Kansas prairie than that. And I can't even get it.
There's one more, and it's not with clothing, it's more with
gear,
and that is, someone has asked whether or not you prefer, and I know the answer, fixed blade versus mechanical, and this also can be dictated by the area that you're in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing I say about archery equipment, or camping, or clothing, actually any gear. Here, let me just say, here's what I say about gear. Everybody is different. And I've always said that my advice on gear is to try it all and figure out what works for you best. Because if you like it and are happy with it, that breeds confidence. And if you're a confident hunter, when you go to the woods, you like your bow, you're happy with your clothing, your broadhead works excellent, then you're going to be a better hunter. Because I've went hunting with people that had all the new latest and greatest and hadn't tried it out yet, but they were convinced it was going to work. And I'm talking some people that I ain't mentioning, but they were top people in the industry. And I took them and put them on stuff, and they shot stuff like with a mechanical broadhead. And I told them not to bring them. I said, I don't want you using them, but they went ahead and did it anyway. And I've watched them not perform. I've watched them.
So there's a possibility of failure because it's a mechanical piece.
Yes. Here's my question, and I think this will answer your question. Why would you use anything that has way more potential for failure?
Yeah. Well, that and if you practice enough and you're good enough and at least you can hit that pie plate, then you don't need something that creates a larger wound.
It's just you're a gadget gurus, all you are.
Yeah.
When you get into that, I call you a techno freak. That's fine. I don't care if you are. But don't even ask me about it. Just use what you want. Be happy with what you're using. If it works, but if it costs you one whitetail buck out of 10, one elk out of 5, 2 turkeys out of 4, if it does that, which I've seen it do it, I've seen mechanical broadheads not harvest game, that it was 100% impossible that had that same arrow went through the same place with a fixed blade head, the animal would have been recovered dead. I've seen it, positively watched it, and there's no way I'm going to throw anything in my gear that gives me a little bit better chance for failure.
Be sure to like and subscribe for any future videos with Eddie. And go ahead and put your questions in the comments below for any future discussions with him.